welcome to this here episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show, episode number 3. It's coming out a day earlier than the previous two, and it's shorter than the previous two. Why is that? Because I, your host, Marcus Nez, and I forgot to say all that shit, but I'm thinking about doing 2 episodes a week, one on Tuesday, one on Friday, and having them be shorter because that'll allow me a little less time for things to happen, like what happened with The Hand of Merlin, where I completely forgot what the game was and gradually remembered more and more as I talked about it and whatnot. So there would be less time for that to happen. And I think having 2 shorter episodes as opposed to one longer one would be better as well. I don't know about you, but I think it's a good idea. And in some extents, or it would be easy to probably think, oh, you're going to be adding additional work to yourself? You're going to be doing 2 episodes instead of 1? That sounds like it's going to be more work. Isn't that something you're trying to avoid? The thing is, I don't actually do anything with these shows. I'm not editing them, and because I'm doing the video, I'm not going in and editing the audio to remove any type of deep breaths or whatever. I'm just letting it all be as it is. I'm letting it be. In the words of the Beatles, you let it be, let it be, let it be. That's how the song goes, right? Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Let the podcast go unedited, yeah, oh, yeah. But, yeah, that's the plan going forward, at the very least. So we shall see how all that goes. Alrighty. Before I get to what I've been playing, just a few games. Got 3 games to talk about on today's episode. I do want to touch upon Star Trek: The Original Series, which I just finished the 2nd season of and have now moved into the 3rd and final season, which is widely and I think universally considered to be the worst season, and overall to be just a bad season. I don't think anyone says, just skip it. You don't even need to bother with it. I think there are a handful of episodes people do think are pretty good, worth watching. And I probably could just skip to those. But I don't like doing that with series. If I'm into a series and I'm committed to it, I'm going to watch all of it. And so far, I think I'm 3 episodes in. It's fucking horrible. Holy shit, I can't believe it. The thing is, it's not just kind of meh. It's actively fucking horrible. I don't know how it happened, why it's happening, but it's bad. These storylines are terrible. The acting seems actually bad instead of just hamming it up and chewing the scenery and just being very pleasantly genre-y and all that. It's like I'm watching a bunch of washed up actors, and they're not washed up. But I'm still enjoying this series, or I'm not enjoying it anymore. And I don't know if season 3 is going to just be this way forever. I hope it's not. But the first 2 seasons I really, really enjoyed. Of course, there are misses, but I really ended up liking it quite a bit, to my pleasant surprise. I will say, I think this is a minority opinion, but Dr. McCoy is my least favorite character. And it's because he has such a prominent role. He's one of the main characters. You could easily say someone like Chekhov is more annoying, but he doesn't have that significant of a role. And Chekhov is mostly annoying because his hair is so terrible. I think what Anton Yelchin did in the new movies was very, very good. He did a lot to make that character much more likable now watching the original series and seeing his take on the character, even though it's not like a drastic difference, it's clear that he is one of the biggest positives or good increases over the original series. There are a lot of things that are weaker in the new movies compared to the original series, but he is definitely one of the aspects that is better than the original. But I don't like Dr. McCoy. It's not that I don't like him. He's just the character I like least. He's the most annoying, but it's all by design. It is who he is. One of the weird things is that I guess canonically, both McCoy and Scotty are supposed to be like 10 years older than Kirk and Spock. And in reality, both the actors were 10 years older. The thing is, McCoy, his actor, he doesn't look 10 years older. He looks like 30 fucking years older. He looks like shit. He looks so old. Whereas Scotty, he could pass for being the same age. Physically, he's kind of more old, shapy. But McCoy just looks so old with those big bags under his eyes too. He just looks so old. And his personality is that way as well. And that's why I think he is annoying, because usually he's pretty acceptably annoying. He's whatever annoying. But sometimes he's a little bit too annoying. And it's because he plays sort of the dad role, the old fogey role, the stuck in the mud role. He is the old guy who won't change his ways, thinks he's right, like your dad. He's just like, oh, I know everything. Just fucking believe me, trust me. And the arguments he gets in, his defenses, his opinions, he's just so freaking frustrating to watch it sometimes. And he's a bit of an asshole. The way he is with Spock, especially because they are the two sort of yin and yang to Kirk, the emotional side and the logistical side. His just emotions are like, ugh. He would definitely be a Trumper. That's all you need to know about McCoy. 100% a Trumper. And I don't want to say that Carl Urban's McCoy is drastically better. I think he's more likable, but at the same time, he's only in a handful of movies and not being spread across a whole series. But overall, very, very good. I really, it's amazing how much I like Spock in the original series when my first exposure to him was the new movies. And I thought he was just such a horrible, unlikable piece of crap. Even though he gets a little bit better, I think what's his face from Heroes, no, did not like him. But the original series is pretty good. Not sure if the third season will be salvageable in any way, if it really is a season that has some redeeming qualities or not. I think I've read quite often that the last episode of Star Trek, the original series, is easily the worst and a horrible way to end the series on, a horrible note to end it on. And I think part of it is because it's very sexist and other shit. I don't know, and I will know when I get to it, because I'm 3 or 4 episodes in. I think just 3. And the third season is like 17 episodes. But I don't know what I'm going to watch after that. I might jump to the movies, but I might transition to something else. I'm not sure. My queue is completely empty. I don't have any movies that I'm really itching to watch that I haven't already, or things that are out there. And I haven't talked about this on the podcast, but I am very against watching movies, especially. I'll watch series. I'll pretty much give in to any series. But watching movies on Netflix or any streaming service is something I'm very hesitant towards, because I am a physical collector of media, especially movies and TV shows when it's available. I like doing that. I like owning those particularly. I'm over it with games. I'm over it with music. But with movies and TV shows, movies especially, because TV shows I've kind of given up on because the industry has not gone along with that or just releases things on DVD at this point. I don't like the idea of watching something on Netflix, say, and really, really liking it, and then being unable to own it, or having to go about some weird means to do it. For instance, my name is Dolomite, or Dolomite is my name. I forget the actual title of that movie, but I really, really like that movie, in part because I'm a big Rudy Ray Moore fan. I love his movies. I think he is not... I don't think the Rudy Ray Moore movies are so bad they're good. I think they are these really, not heartwarming, but the love and passion that went into the making of them can't be unnoticed when watching them. And he has an incredible way with words and being able to take words off the page and say them in a kind of beautiful way. Like, I just think Rudy Ray Moore is fantastic. I love him. And I thought the biopic was really, really good. It is one of the handful of times where I've really liked Eddie Murphy. Wesley Snipes was a very pleasant surprise in it. And the whole cast was really good. And it's a great movie. But if I wanted to own it, there is a Blu-ray available on eBay. I don't know where it's from. It's a very good-looking, package-wise, has to be bootleg. But it looks very well put together. But if I wanted to get a legit version of it on Blu-ray, because I think it is available via this way on Blu-ray as well, not just DVD. But the only way would to be to get a screener from the award season that they pass out and just put in like a slip or something. And those go for 60 plus, I don't know. It's a lot. And it's a lot for just essentially a loose disc. Or it comes like a really cheap fold out little thing. And that sucks. Just put it on Blu-ray, for the love of God. And the thing is, man, Netflix, you could make some money by just having a made on demand, an MOD service, where you charge an arm and a leg, and you don't mass produce these things. You just make them when somebody wants them, so you can have on the website or whatever. Did you like this movie? Would you like to own it on Blu-ray for just $29.99, $39.99? We'll do it. We'll put it in a nice little basic package, and we'll print the disc for you. We will hard print it. What is the term for it? Because I don't want a burn disc. It needs to be pressed. I want a press disc. Give me a press disc. As long as you press the disc and it's not some BDR bullshit, I'll pay a hefty sum for a movie I really, really love. That's why I haven't watched that Black Western yet, because I'm so sure I'm gonna love it, and then as soon as I finish watching it, I'm gonna be like, I want to own this, and I can't. And the only movies that tend to make it are movies where they had like a partnership with Netflix, or yeah, I think that's kind of it. I don't know if anything that they've made themselves has made its way to Blu-ray. The Shaun the Sheep movie that they have is finally getting released from Shout Factory, I believe, which is nice. Excited about that. Haven't watched it yet because of that very reason, and now I can. So that one might have had already an international release. It might also have an international 4K release. I'm not sure. But yeah. Enough about all that. Let's get on to what I've been playing. I spent enough time talking about not things I'm playing. So I've got 2 visual novels and a survival horror game, which is weird. Visual novels, because, not a big visual novel fan. These are... Alright, first up is Mothmen 1966. And this is a visual novel with a very classic pixel aesthetic, like, oh man, I don't want to say like Maniac Mansion and stuff, but there was this collection of games that it reminds me of, but it's very NES in its visual aesthetic and very black and green, and it's got an X-Filesy vibe because it's about this. I mean, the Mothman is one of those, not mythological. What are they called? They're not called mystics. They're the paranormal. A paranormal creature. Cryptids? Is that what they're called? Cryptids, I think. I vaguely know this stuff because I've helped host not host, but like just on my site. I'm like, here, I'll put the files here so that people can download from here. You know what I mean? That kind of hosting. Not hosting like, hi, I'm talking about paranormal shit because I know stuff about it. But it's about this small town or whatever. Mothmen are coming about. You play 3 different characters, switching between them via chapters. One owner of a gas station who has a grandmother who can't walk. And then a couple, a man and his girlfriend, who are making their way there to celebrate their relationship or whatever. And it's well written, but it's very mystery driven. And in my hour and a half or so with the game, I just didn't really know. I wasn't driven to keep playing it because I felt like they were just throwing a lot of questions without ever giving me any answers or hints of answers or reasons to even care about answers. I just felt like I was confused the whole time. And that might be the point, but it just didn't do that much for me. I like the look of it. I like the fact that it seems somewhat choose your own adventure-y, and I love those books growing up where you'll come across points where you have to make decisions, and depending on the decisions you make, you may lead down a path that leads to your death, and then you'll have to start over from the most recent checkpoint, which won't be that far back. And that I really, really like. But it didn't seem like there were that many instances of that. In fact, in my time with it, there was only one where I ended up dying. And that could just be because in all the other situations where I could have gone on the wrong path, I was always on the right path, or I always chose the right decisions. But if there are more instances like that, more moments of choice that could lead to death or the game ending for this reason or that reason, I'm into that. I like that type of structure. That's what I kind of want out of visual novels. I don't really need mini games or interactive elements of that sort. All I really want is a visual choose your own adventure game, because I love those books. And while you can still do that in book form, it's kind of nice to do that in a video game form, where instead of reading something and it's like, go to page 123, now go to page 64, now go to page 82, and having to go back and forth all over this text, just having the game automatically take you to the next point without you having to go back and forth. That's desirable. But it was okay. I remember when I was playing it, and I had to. One of the interactive bits was looking through binoculars to look at this creature in a tree, which was one of the Mothmen. I had to focus it, which I don't know. I mean, do binoculars work this way? Or did they used to work this way? Where it seemed like I was focusing each individual lens, and I was like, "What? Well, not both at the same time? Okay." But as I was doing this to reveal the creature and what it looked like, upon getting it nice and clear, I was like, ooh, that kind of looks like a Mothman. Oh, that's a cryptid, right? And then I realized, oh yeah, the fucking game is called Mothman, 1966. You dumbass. And that was a funny moment for me. I had a laugh. I hope you had a laugh too, just then and there. But it's okay. I think if you're really into the whole cryptid, Mothman, paranormal thing, you'd probably get a kick out of it because the atmosphere and all that is very, very good. But there are plenty of instances, like when you're playing as the couple and they're having their relationship problems and talking about this and that, where it's just like, this is going on quite a while. I'd rather just get to the mystery. The opening section is a lot stronger because it's playing up the mystery. I think that's more so the issue than it providing a lot of questions without answers, is that it does ask a lot of questions, or it's putting out a lot of questions, making you ask a lot of questions early on. But it's also having all these moments where you're not getting questions and you're not getting answers and you're just getting this who gives a shit relationship problems crap. Like, I don't care about this couple. They they don't suck, but they're not that interesting. Not as interesting as the gas station owner with a grandmother who can't walk, but he had some dream where she was walking into the woods and this creature comes and the men in black come to talk to him, and he's playing solitaire and he takes a bite out of the cards, one of the men in black, and it's creepy and weird, and that's good. I like that. Also, there's a solitaire game in it, and that's where I stopped playing it because it is basically Tri-Peak Solitaire, but the way it works is that if you've never played Tri-Peaks Solitaire, it's also called Pyramid Solitaire in some places. Yahoo Games especially, been around for a very long time. It was one of the most popular versions of Solitaire. My mom played the hell out of it like 20 years ago or whatever when it first showed up, and I played a lot of it when I was a youth, and I still play it. I love it. But the way it works is that, so in Tri-Peak Solitaire, you have 3 peaks. That's why it's called Tri-Peaks, or 3 pyramids, why you could also call it pyramids. And the cards are all face down with the ones on the front face up, like the solitaire and all that. And how you go about clearing the board, clearing the table, is you'll have your pile, your draw pile, and then one card face up. And the face card up, the up card face, the card face up next to the draw pile. If it's a 3, for instance, you can place a card that is either 1 number higher or 1 number lower. So you can place a 2 on it or a 4, and then so on and so forth. And that's how you clear the board, by doing that. And the caveat, the modifier with the impossible solitaire, which is what they call it in the game, is that you have to guess, bet. They call it betting, but you're guessing what the next card is going to be color-wise. So is it going to be black or red? If you're wrong, game's over. And that's it. That's the one difference. And I played it for maybe like 10 minutes, and I got so close, and when I didn't make it on the game that was destined for winning, I was like, all right, fuck this game, because I refuse to continue that game until I beat Impossible Solitaire. So if I ever go back to the game, I'm still not progressing the story until I beat Impossible Solitaire. I'm going to show and prove that it is fucking possible. Because fuck you, I love Solitaire. But the other game I played is Milky Way Prince, the Vampire Star, the other visual novel that is. And this is a very good visual novel, but there is a disclaimer. It is covering abuse, and specifically like a relationship abuse on a emotional level. I don't know if there will be any physical abuse that comes into play in the story, but I didn't get to the parts where I'm sure it gets even worse and more triggering. But I could see where it was going, and because I have experience with that type of thing, it wasn't something I wanted to continue engaging with. It's very well done. It has a good mood and vibe. It's hard talking about it because it was just hard for me to continue playing it because it's not something I personally want to experience again for enjoyment purposes. I like that there is a game, or that there are games like this that cover these types of topics, because I think we should be able to have games that cover all ranges of topics, especially if they're handled with care and done well. And this is done by someone who experienced this. It is semi-autobiographical or completely autobiographical, I believe. And the story surrounds the vampire star, the Milky Way prince, who you play as a kind of... You have a lot of self-doubt and negative opinions of yourself. You may have mild body dysmorphia. Like, you're definitely someone who has low self-esteem, and you latch on to this person you look at as the Milky Way prince very fast. There are a lot of sexual things that happen as well, just in terms of explicit dialogue. Like, it's not for kids. It's not for those who have experienced abuse and are easily triggered and or don't want to experience that again. But if you're open to something that is exploring topics like abuse, it's worth checking out. It's worth playing. But just keep in mind, and they put the disclaimer on the store pages and stuff, so you won't stumble upon it and get surprised by any of that. But yeah, it's well done, but because of the topic and all that, it's something that I just was not wanting to play more of after a point, because I could clearly tell where this relationship was going. The Milky Way Prince, that character, is clearly very possessive and manipulative, and the way he talks to you is something I can personally relate with very closely, and doing things that and saying things that are trying to make you do the things they want out of guilt, out of etc. And remembering those moments in my life was not something I particularly enjoyed. But I think that goes to show that it was doing a good job, because it was I did not think it was inauthentic in any way. And it reminded me very much of my own experiences because of its authenticity, despite the fact that there is this magical element to it with this whole Milky Way Prince thing going on, and it's a star that has fallen from the sky, and there are these magical elements happening. But yeah, just keep all that in mind. And the last game I played is Fobia, Saint Dinfna Hotel. Hate the title because Dinfna Hotel. What the fuck? Why? What are you doing this to me? We got Winklejotilda, Dinfna. God, fucking, what's happening with the indie games and their titling? This is probably an actual word, but this is a survival horror game, first-person survival horror game that is clearly inspired by Resident Evil, all versions of it. I think the area is very clearly, this hotel is very clearly inspired by the first Resident Evil, but then gameplay is inspired by like Resident Evil 7 with the first person elements and all that, and just the way it looks, feels, and seems very 70. But I played it for maybe close to 2 hours, and it works in a very similar way in that you'll have your safe rooms that have chests that you can store items in. You will have, instead of a typewriter, a clock that you take your little pocket watch and you put it up to it, and then you can save there. Unlimited save, so you don't have to worry about ink ribbons or, I don't know, batteries for your watch, your little pocket watch. And it's surprisingly good. There are a lot of games like this. I was not expecting this to be anything particularly great, but I was having a good time. I don't know how much more I'll play, just because it's supposedly like a 7-8 hour game, I think. I don't know if it's going to reach a point of spookiness that I can't deal with, but so far in the first few hours, it has its spookiness, but not too much that I'm like, nope. There were even spiders. One jumped me and got all up in my face. I did not like that. That was the worst part. But there are a lot of, because I think the main ghost of the game is this little girl in a gas mask. And there will be plenty of instances where you maybe are looking through a door that has a chain link keeping it closed right now. There's clearly going to be a point where I get some bolt cutters and I'm able to open all these doors. But there'll be instances where you look at it, you examine it, and then you just see her walk by. Or you'll walk all the way to this end of the hallway, and when you turn around, you'll see a figure in the distance that wasn't there. And when you walk by, or when you start walking there, you might have to move over to the side, and it'll be out of your view. And when it's back in your view, they'll be gone. There was an instance where I went downstairs to check out this area, and when I went back upstairs, there was this little bunny with a heart waiting for me at the top of the stairs. Didn't do anything, but it just wasn't there originally. And it does a lot of stuff like that, where things will change gradually or slightly from when you first enter a space to when you leave it or when you return. And that kind of stuff, I think, is very good at making one feel tense and uncomfortable and nervous, because clearly something is happening, but it's all happening while you're not there, and you don't know who's doing it, what's doing it, etc. That works on me. And the fact that it is a survival horror game, you do get a gun hour and a half into the game. Gunplay doesn't feel that great, but you can turn on aim assist. There's quite a bit of accessibility options. There's an ammo assist option that apparently will, with boss fights, provide you with additional ammo to suit your needs depending on how you're doing, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I'm going to play more, which is more than I was expecting. I thought I'd probably check out very quickly, but I've said this before, with survival horror games, or horror games just in general, if you give me a way to defend myself, if it's not just a game where all I can do is run and hide if I run into a monster or something of that ilk, I'm okay. I can handle a game like that because I have a way to defend myself. If I don't have a way to defend myself, then I don't... To me, yes, those games are scary in the sense that I'm a big baby and I can't handle them, but they're not scary in a... I don't want to say legitimate way. They're just really cheap scares. Sure, I think, you know what? Anyone can make a game scary if they fucking take away all ability to defend oneself, all agency, and just make it so that if you run into a monster, you're fucked, or you just have to run and hide. That's not fun to me. That's not enjoyable, because it's just so repetitive and boring in my eyes. It's not scary. It's just like, okay, well, what's the point? You know what's the point is? There's no point. I ain't doing it. So I'm interested. for, I say I'm kind of excited to see what else is there. Because the story surrounds you go into this hotel, you're a young graduate who wants to become an investigative reporter, and you get contacted by someone who lives in this town that's kind of like been gradually, I think, going under and losing people. But you go to this hotel, nothing really happens, your contact never meets you, and then apparently you were knocked out, and it's a year later, and you don't know what's going on, and you have to figure out the mystery of this hotel. There were a bunch of maybe 20 miners or so that died there, and it's got a decent story, decent voice acting. Yeah. Inventory management, not to the extent where you have to rotate things, but it also doles out inventory packs that increase the number of slots you have very quickly and at a very weirdly frequent pace, where it's just like, here's another pack, here's some more slots, here's some more slots. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll take these slots. Quite a bit of puzzles, not too bad. And another one of the main mechanics of the game is that you, being a photojournalist, you have a camera, and by using your camera, by looking through it, you are able to see an alternate version of this space. And I don't know if it's meant to be from the past or just an alternate reality of it, but in the same time. And this allows you at times to move through areas. So a wall may be broken in the ghost area. Let's just call it the ghost area, the viewfinder area. And you'll be able to collect objects and key items in the alternate area, alternate space that aren't in the regular world, etc., and vice versa. So using this mechanic, one, is something that makes the game a little bit more unique and gives it its own identity, but also it's cool. It's a cool little mechanic. Got a nice visual look to it. You have a flashlight eventually too that isn't run off battery power, so it's just there. It's always there. You don't have to worry about batteries. Love that. And there is, I played on Xbox Series X, there is a ray tracing mode. You turn that on, it runs like shit. Don't turn that on. I don't think the visual improvement you get from it is worth the performance dip in any way, because I don't even think it feels like a buttery smooth 60 without ray tracing on. With it on, I don't even know if it hit a locked 30. It felt really, really bad. And I don't know if that's just how 30 feels when transitioning between 60 and 30. But just another example of me feeling like I've become a 60 FPS snob. I've yet to experience 120 FPS or anything above 60. And I doubt that would be as drastic of a difference. But I don't think there will ever be an instance where a game's visuals are so much better when playing in 30 FPS that I'd ever not choose to play in 60 FPS. That buttery smooth gameplay is just too good to pass. But yeah, that's Fobia Saint Dinfna. I mean, if you like Resident Evil, especially the later ones, the first person ones, definitely check it out. It's a solid take on the genre, does a few unique things, and is just well put together. There are a lot of games, like I said, that are doing similar things, but Saint Dinfna is it's a good one. Before I wrap things up, though, we have one patron question, because I didn't give people that much time, and I'm doing these 2 episodes potentially. But from Lunchbox, excluding To the Moon, what game do you wish you could completely forget and experience for the first time again? Funny thing, Lunchbox, To the Moon is not a game I would do that with, because I don't think the surprise or the unknowing aspect is in any way related to why I loved To the Moon, and I don't think having that experience erased from my memory would make my eventual replaying of it better. That's not something, or not a game where I think that's important, because it wasn't that it was such a pleasant surprise or whatever that I ended up loving it. But the number one game I'd probably do that with is BioShock, which is one of my favorite games of all time. And maybe it is the only game that I've actually marathon. I think I did it with Grand Theft Auto 4 as well. But BioShock is the game that got me to buy an HD TV, which I still own. It's only 720p. I think it does 1080i, but I don't really know what the I is compared to P and any of that jazz. But it was the game that got me to buy an HD TV, so it brought me into the HD age, and I played it in one sitting, almost took a break at like 3 in the morning to sleep for a few hours, and then when I woke up, I finished it. But I adore that game so much. The reveal, would you kindly, it worked on me. I know there are people, especially after the fact, who kind of are like, ugh, I don't like that. It's so cheap, it's garbage, blah, 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 blah. There, you know, some naysayers, but I think overall people are still pretty fond of all that. And I just had a very strong emotional response to the little sisters and saving them, where a lot of people shit on the ending for just being a minute or minute and a half long cutscene. And I can see shit on it if you got the bad one. But if you got the bad one, you got what you deserve because you were a piece of shit. But seeing that cutscene of just all these girls' hands becoming adults, young adults, achieving various things, you know, graduating college, becoming this employee, like becoming a doctor or whatever, like, and then them all grasping your hand on your deathbed. But just seeing all those hands and knowing I did that. I gave all these girls these lives that they never would have had if I didn't save them. And it's because I saved them and I didn't choose to harvest them. It worked on me so strongly. Yeah, the boss fight is trash, but it in no way took away from the whole experience, and I adore that game so much. So that would be my number one. And then probably Knights of the Old Republic is another one, because that is a game where the reveal worked on me and the whole story was so strong for me, and watching Bastila struggle and being able to save her through my love, which I felt a very strong feeling towards her when I first played it, and when I played it again the second time, it's my favorite story in video games, probably. In just the sense that I felt most connected to all of it. And it helps that it's a very longer experience, but I felt a very personal attachment to it. I've said it before, it is the game, the experience that made me think to myself, hey, maybe Star Wars, the prequels were actually really, really good. And then I bought them all on DVD at Walmart. And I was like, no, they're not. No, they're not. But yeah, those are the two that come to mind. My favorite game of all time, Metal Gear Solid. I'm sure that'd be nice, but I don't feel like I need to experience that fresh. Definitely don't need that with Morrowind or Deus Ex. So BioShock is easily number one, and then KOTOR would be a strong number two. But it's not a number two in that it's not poo-poo. It's a very, very good game. Don't misquote me on that. But yeah, that will do it for this here episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Once again, I am Mark Kuznets. Y'all can find me on Twitter and pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. Speaking of Twitter, man, I need to get like some other clients for Windows and something else on iOS, because I think part of the reason why I don't really use Twitter anymore is because the native app experience is so fucking shit. It's horrible. I hate it so much. But I am at PX Sausage there and pretty much everywhere. If you'd like to see all my links or find all my links of import, you can do that over at pixelatedsausage.com/PXS. Of course, if you're watching this on the YouTube, please do like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications if you haven't already. And that is where I stream as well. You can check out the archives of streams in the playlist. And that is a good way to see these games that I talked about, me playing them, and how I'm feeling about them as I'm playing them. So they make a good companion piece to this show and Attack the Backlog, etc. Just played through a short hike. The whole playthrough is available now. So you can check that out. But yeah, you do all that. And if you do like any of this stuff I do and what have you, you can go over to patreon.com/pxs and support me and my nonsense that way. And of course, if you become a patron, one, you should join the Discord. But if you become a patron, you can ask me questions that I'll answer here. And that's the only way to do it. If you're not a patron and you ask me a question, guess what? My answer? Fuck you. I'm just kidding. But not really. Or am I? Yeah. That is it. So, as always, appreciate all of you. I hope you enjoyed this here episode. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye! Ooh.